Uh, and then Stan of the Swamp says, why do you keep saying woohoo? And then Wally says, because going down the slide is so much fun. Try it, you'll love it. And then Stan said, huh? Then Stan asked, woo, who? And then Wally says, why are you sliding? And then Stan of the Swamp says, swamp monsters are very sticky. And then Wally says, okay, sliding's not your thing. What else you like to play? Or when Lola says, guys, help! I can't hold on much longer. In the just like that when Wally says, okay, sliding's not your thing. What else you like to play? Then Wally says, I know. How about in the sandbox? And then Stan of the Swamp says, a mud box will be better. And then Wally says, what are fun things you like to play in the sandbox? Like a truck. Does truck start a sound? Then Wally says, yeah, it does. Truck. It's a magic word. Twice. And it has the sound. We'll make Stan a truck. Where Stan says, well, I'll try. Where Wally says, I'll get us some too. Where Wally says, hey Stan, having fun playing with your truck? Then Stan up the Swamp says, not really. The horn doesn't work and the steering wheel's too small. How do you drive the thing? Then Wally says, Stan, you're not supposed to get on the truck. Then Stan up the Swamp says, you're not? Or when Lola says, I know, Tummy, I wish I was home. Then Lola says, well, hello there, little owl. What's your name? Then Lola says, aw, that's a cute name for an owl, Hootie. And then Lola says, hi, Hootie, I'm Lola. And then Lola says, sounds like you're a hungry little owl, Hootie. And then Lola says, can you show me how to find a way back home? Next to Stan of the Swamp says, not really. The horn doesn't work and the steering wheel's too small. How do you drive the thing? Then Wally says, Stan, you're not supposed to get on the truck. And then Stan of the Swamp says, you're not? Then Stan says, that's it, I'm going back home. And the just like that when Stan says, that's it, I'm going home. Where Wally says, wait, don't give up. What else you like to play? Where Stan says, I don't know. Where Wally says, well, you try to play on that, and that, and that, and you try to play on that. What else you like to play? Where Stan says, I don't know. Then Wally says, maybe. I know, maybe you like something to jump on. Then Wally says, magic stick, give me a word. And then Wally says, thanks. Whoa, big word. Stan, do you know this word? Then Stan says, trampoline. Then Wally says, yeah, trampoline. It's a magic word. And it has the sound. We'll make a trampoline. Where Wally says, look, Stan, you just need to try it. Now you try it. Then Stan said, hey, not bad. Then Wally says, see, I told you it was fun. And the just like that when Wally says, see, I told you it was fun.